Excuse me, we had a complaint. What's going on here? Officer, we haven't done anything wrong.
We're just having a family meal.
Ma'am, please stay seated. I need to see some ID.
You can hear it in his voice before you even see his face. That confident, practiced authority. The tone that says, I've already decided you're guilty now, I just need you to comply. Alright folks, the officer says, loud enough for nearby tables to turn their heads, you need to leave. Right now. The camera is chest-mounted, wide-angle, slight fisheye. It catches the whole booth. A family of 4 mid-lunch, 2 kids with crayons, a half-filled water glass, a basket of fries steaming on the table like it's the most normal Sunday in the world. The dad blinks like he's trying to wake up from a dream. Officer, we just ordered, we're eating. The mom's hand is already on her daughter's shoulder. Protective, automatic. The kind of move you make when you've learned the world can turn on you without warning. The officer doesn't even look at the kids, he's scanning the booth like it's evidence. I've had complaints, you're causing a disturbance, you need to vacate the premises. A disturbance, the mother repeats. Her voice is calm, but it's the calm people use when they're holding something fragile together. We're sitting here with our children who complained. That's not your concern, the officer says. The words land hard because they mean you're not owed explanations, you're not owed dignity. The officer's name is Evan Rourke, 12 years on the Brookdale Police Department. The kind of cop who calls himself old school, the kind who says respect is earned but expects it in advance like tax. He was dispatched to a family restaurant called Maple in Maine at 1:12 p.m. on a bright Sunday afternoon. The call notes, disruptive customers, refusing to comply. Manager requests police assistance. Rourke responded fast. Too fast, because he likes these calls. He calls them cleanups, a chance to walk into a room and make people move. But when he stepped inside Maple in Maine, there was no shouting, no thrown chairs, no chaos, just the hum of plates and forks and low conversation. A few kids laughing too loud, like kids do. His body cam captures the moment he sees them. They're the only black family in the room, and you can literally watch the decision form in his posture. He angles straight toward their booth like a magnet snapping to metal. The father is Dr. Lionel Harris, 38, an emergency physician who works nights and knows what real danger sounds like. The mother is Renee Harris, 36, a compliance attorney who spends her days documenting rules and watching people pretend they didn't break them. Their kids are Noah, 10, and Layla, 6. They are not loud, they are not arguing. Noah is lining fries into neat rows like he's building a tiny fence. Layla is coloring a cartoon pancake on a kid's menu with a purple crayon. The kind of scene that should make a cop relax, but not this one. Sir, Dr. Harris says, hands up slightly, palms open. We've done nothing wrong. Can you tell us what the complaint was? Rourke's hand touches his belt, not his weapon, just close enough to make sure everyone sees he could if he wanted to. Your options are simple, he says. You leave voluntarily, or you leave in cuffs. Renee sits up straighter. Officer, are you ordering us to leave because of our race? Rourke exhales through his nose like he's tired of being questioned. Don't start that. I'm responding to a disturbance call. What disturbance? Dr. Harris asks again. Slower now. Please tell me what we did. Rourke points toward the front counter. Management wants you out. Renee looks around the room. She sees people staring, pretending not to stare. She sees a woman clutching her purse tighter for no reason. She sees a man look away too quickly, the way people do when they're relieved it's happening to someone else. Noah whispers, barely audible on the mic. Dad, are we in trouble? Dr. Harris's voice catches nobody. No, we're not in trouble. But the camera hears Layla's breathing change. That little hiccup a kid makes before crying, when they're trying to be brave but don't understand the rules. Renee takes a slow breath. Officer Rourke, she says, precise now, lawyer voice activating. We are not trespassing. We're paying customers. There is no lawful basis for you to remove us absent a crime or the owner directly ordering us out. Who is management? Rourke's eyes narrow. Ma'am, I'm not going to debate this with you in public. In public, Renee repeats. You approached us in public. Rourke leans in slightly. Just enough to be felt. Last warning, stand up and leave. And that's when another voice cuts in from the side, angry, shocked human. Officer, what are you doing? The body cam swings. A man in his late 50s steps out from behind the counter, wiping his hands on an apron like he ran out mid. This is Carl Matson. He owns Maple in Maine. He built it from nothing. He's the kind of owner who remembers regulars' names and comped meals when someone's kid is sick. He looks from Rourke to the Harris family, then back to Rourke, like he's trying to figure out what reality he just walked into. I got a call, Rourke says quickly, like he can build a wall with words. Disturbance, I'm handling it. Carl's eyebrows lift. From who? I'm the owner. Nobody told me a thing. Rourke gestures vaguely toward a corner booth. A customer complained. Carl turns. The booth Rourke indicates is empty now. Whoever complained, if they did vanish the second consequences, walked in. Carl steps closer to the family. Dr. Harris, he says. Renee, are you all right? We're confused. Dr. Harris answers honestly. We were eating. That's it. Carl's face hardens. He turns back to Rourke. Then there's no disturbance. And they're not leaving. Rourke's jaw tightens. Sir, if you're refusing to cooperate with law enforcement, cooperate. Carl snaps. You're harassing my customers. The diner goes quieter. Not silent people still chew, but that hush hits where everyone realizes they're watching something ugly. Rourke's voice drops. It's meant for Carl, but the mic catches every word. You've got a good relationship with this department, he says. Wouldn't want that to change. Carl freezes for half a second. Because that's not community policing. That's a threat. And Renee Harris, hands shaking, lifts her phone. Officer, she says, clear and calm, I'm recording. And you just threatened a business owner for refusing to discriminate against us. Rourke turns toward her, and the body cam captures it. His eyes, his annoyance, his assumption that he can still control the narrative. Put the phone away, he snaps, or I'll take it. Renee doesn't blink. You don't have lawful authority to confiscate my phone for recording in a public place. Carl steps between them. Officer Rourke, he says, voice firm, I'm telling you, they're welcome here. I'm asking you to leave. The camera captures Rourke standing there, breathing heavier, recalculating because suddenly this isn't easy. And the thing Rourke doesn't fully understand yet is that his own camera is still running. Every word, every threat, every moment. And once that footage exists, it doesn't belong to him anymore. Rourke leaves Maple and Maine the way men leave when they're losing control. Stiff, shoulders tight, walking fast enough to look purposeful. The body cam bounces with each step as he pushes through the front door. Behind him, the diner exhales. You can hear it, people talking again, forks clinking, someone murmuring that was messed up. A couple of customers clap quietly. Not for drama, for relief, for decency. Outside, Rourke mutters under his breath. The mic catches it anyway. Unbelievable. He climbs into his patrol car, slams the door, and sits there for a moment staring straight ahead like he's trying to force time backward. Because the thing about authority is this. It depends on other people accepting it. And in that diner today, two things happened that Rourke hates more than anything. A business owner told him no. A black woman spoke to him like she had rights. He radios in a quick update. Situation resolved. Parties advised. No further. Then later that day, he writes his incident report. It reads smooth, official, certain. He claims he was dispatched for a disturbance, arrived, and observed escalating behavior from the Harris family. He writes that the manager requested they leave. He states that he de-escalated the situation and the family chose to leave voluntarily, except none of that happened. They didn't leave. Carl made him leave. And he knows that, but Rourke has gotten away with this before. He has a habit. Write the report like reality is negotiable. Use vague words. Avoid specifics. Let the paperwork create fog. And for years, it worked. Because complaints without video are easy to dismiss. Because he said, she said almost always becomes the officer said. But this time, the Harris family doesn't go home and swallow it. They go home and file a formal complaint, and they do it strategically. Dr. Harris writes a detailed timeline. Arrival time, order time, the exact wording used by the officer, the owner's intervention, the phone threat. Renee, being a compliance attorney, knows something else. Systems protect themselves. So she sends copies to multiple places: internal affairs, the city manager's office, the mayor's constituent services email, and a local civil rights organization. She also asks for one specific thing: preservation of body camera footage. Because if the footage disappears, that becomes a scandal all its own. 3 days later, internal affairs pulls the video, and the room changes. It always does. A supervisor watches the footage and realizes the report doesn't match the recording, not slightly, not interpretation. It's the difference between truth and fiction. On the video, there is no disturbance, no raised voices from the family, no aggressive behavior, no refusal to comply with a lawful order. There is only Rourke walking up and deciding they don't belong. There is only him threatening arrest for nothing. There is only him warning the owner about the police department relationship. Internal Affairs flags the case as inconsistency with report and forwards it up the chain. And now the department can't pretend it's a misunderstanding because video doesn't get tired. It doesn't get intimidated. It doesn't forget details. It just plays. Meanwhile, customer footage hits the internet. A teenage server, shaken and angry, uploads a clip to social media. Renee holding her phone, Carl stepping in, Rourke snapping, "I'll take it." The caption is simple. They tried to kick out a family for eating lunch. The clip spreads. Local reporters call Maple and Maine. Carl refuses to hide. He gives one statement that slices right through the excuses. They were doing nothing wrong. I told the officer to leave. Everyone is welcome here. Suddenly the city is on fire politically, socially, reputationally, and then the patterns start to emerge. A civil rights group submits a public records request for Rourke's previous calls involving disturbance complaints at restaurants and shops. What comes back is a list that looks normal until you read it twice, because the same few locations appear again and again. A cafe, a park, a boutique, a family restaurant, a small grocery store. And the descriptions are always the same. Customer made uncomfortable, suspicious individuals, loitering, disturbance, words that don't mean crimes but create permission. The group cross-references names from prior complaints. Then they cross-reference demographics. And the pattern becomes undeniable. Rourke is disproportionately dispatched or self-initiated into situations involving people of color in public spaces, especially spaces that consider themselves upscale or family-friendly. Not because those people were committing crimes, but because someone didn't like seeing them there, and Rourke acted like that discomfort was law. Internal emails surface, too. In one message to a sergeant, Rourke writes, getting more calls from businesses about keeping things from getting out of hand. Need guidance on how far we can go when owners want help maintaining their environment. The sergeant replies, use discretion. If owners are concerned about clientele experience, assist within policy. It's corporate sounding, carefully worded, but it reads like a dog whistle with a badge. Now the case is bigger than Maple and Main. It's a system that trained itself to treat somebody complained as a shortcut around rights. The city attorney's office contacts Renee Harris to talk resolution. That's how you know they saw the video. Because cities don't rush to resolve things that are defensible. Renee doesn't say no. She says, we'll be represented. And within a week, a federal civil rights investigator reaches out. Not because the internet is angry, because the video shows something federal law takes seriously. Deprivation of rights under color of law. A police officer using state authority to deny someone equal access to a public accommodation based on race, and the relationship threat to the owner. It turns it from bias into coercion. It's one thing to be wrong. It's another to pressure a private business to discriminate, then threaten consequences when they refuse. Federal investigators start interviewing people from prior incidents, and the stories match like photocopies. Officer told us we didn't belong. He said someone complained but wouldn't say who he threatened. Trespassing when we were paying customers. He said he was keeping order. Then they find something worse. Multiple prior complaints where Rourke's body cam was not activated or was during the most controversial interactions. Always conveniently, but for Maple and Main he left it on. And that single choice becomes the thread that unravels everything, because now the question isn't did it happen, it's how many times did it happen before this, and the answer is about to destroy more than one career. 6 months after the Maple and Main incident, Officer Evan Rourke wakes up to pounding on his front door. Not a polite knock. Oh, we have a warrant knock. He opens it in sweatpants, eyes squinting, still half sleeping, and then his stomach drops, because the people on his porch aren't internal affairs, they're federal agents. OneStepsForward.com. Professional, unimpressed. Evan Rourke, the agent asks. Rourke's mouth goes dry. Yeah, you're under arrest. His first instinct is the one that used to work. Talk his way out. Act offended, ask who called, demand explanations. But the agent doesn't argue. He reads the charges. 18 U.S.C. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights. Conspiracy, that word hits harder than the cuffs, because conspiracy means, we don't think you did this alone. The government doesn't bring that lightly. Not for a single diner incident. Not unless they have a pattern, a structure, a chain. Rourke is processed like any other defendant. Fingerprints, photos, belongings placed in a plastic bin, and the whole time he keeps repeating one line, I was doing my job. But the federal system doesn't care about your job title. It cares about what you did with power. In the weeks leading to trial, prosecutors build the story the way they always do. Not with emotion, but with evidence. They start with the Maple and Main video. They isolate key moments, Rourke walking past multiple loud tables and targeting the Harris family. That's not your concern. Leave voluntarily or this becomes an arrest situation. Wouldn't want that relationship to change. Put the phone away or I'll take it. They freeze frames, enhance audio, present transcripts, then they bring in witnesses. Carl Madsen, the owner, testifies first. He tells the jury he never asked police to remove the family. He tells them he never observed a disturbance. He tells them Rourke tried to turn someone as uncomfortable into enforcement. Prosecutors ask him, why did you intervene? Carl looks straight at the jurors. Because it was wrong, he says, and because I watched the kids start to cry. Then Renee Harris takes the stand. She doesn't cry. She doesn't perform. She explains the humiliation like a professional describing an incident report, because that's the only way she can keep her voice steady. She talks about her daughter asking if they were bad. She talks about her son's face, the moment he realized a uniform could mean danger even when you're doing nothing wrong. And then she says something that makes the courtroom go still. I've defended corporations against compliance violations, she says. I've seen powerful people break rules and claim ignorance, but I've never seen a person with a gun and a badge threaten my children's safety because a stranger didn't like looking at us. The defense attorney tries to paint it as a misunderstanding, a routine trespass warning, a customer complaint. But every time they say complaint, the prosecutor brings it back to the video. Where is the disturbance? Where is the manager requesting removal? Where is the crime? There isn't one. Then the prosecution does what breaks the case open. They don't stop at Maple and Main. They show pattern evidence. 17 other bodycam clips, different places, same script. A black couple sitting in a coffee shop. We've had complaints. A Latino family in a park pavilion. You need to move along. A group of teenagers outside a movie theater. Someone feels threatened. The prosecutor doesn't argue. He just plays the footage back to back, and suddenly, it's not about one bad day. It's about a routine, a method, a habit of using vague complaints as a weapon. Then they show the missing footage problem. An analyst testifies that Rourke failed to activate his bodycam in multiple incidents that resulted in citizen complaints despite policy requiring activation. The defense tries to spin it. Equipment malfunction. The prosecutor asks the analyst, how often did the malfunction occur during routine traffic stops? Rarely, the analyst says. How often did it occur during incidents involving removal of minorities from businesses or public spaces? The analyst pauses, then answers, disproportionately Rourke's sergeant becomes the quiet bomb in the case, because the sergeant took a plea deal, not because he's heroic, because he saw the math and knew he'd lose. The sergeant testifies that Rourke frequently discussed cleaning up problem customers at businesses that wanted a certain environment. He admits he advised discretion. He admits he didn't shut it down. Prosecutors introduce the email exchange, the one that sounds polite but means something else. The defense objects, the judge overrules, the jury sees the words. And for the first time, the department can't hide behind one rogue officer. The government's theory is clear. The department enabled a culture where discrimination could hide inside disturbance calls. Rourke weaponized that culture. And when the owner resisted, he tried to intimidate him into compliance. Conspiracy, color of law, civil rights deprivation. At sentencing, the judge is blunt. You used your authority, the judge says, not to protect the public, but to enforce someone else's prejudice. Rourke's attorney asks for leniency, calls him a dedicated officer, says he made a mistake. The judge shakes his head. This was not a mistake, he says. This was a pattern. And the pattern continued until a camera prevented you from rewriting the story. Rourke is sentenced to federal prison, not a slap, not desk duty, time. And that's when the city realizes the criminal case was only the first wave, because civil court is next. And civil court is where cities pay for what they allowed. By the time the civil lawsuit reaches mediation, the city's legal team looks tired, not because they're overworked, because they've watched the video. They've watched it the way everyone watches it now, knowing what comes next, knowing the words, knowing the exact moment the room goes silent. And they know juries don't forgive that. The Harris family sues Officer Evan Rourke individually. The Brookdale Police Department, the city of Brookdale. The supervising sergeant now convicted claims include civil rights violations, equal protection violations, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and most dangerously for the city, failure to train and supervise. That last one is where the real money lives. Because it says, this wasn't an accident. This was predictable. Discovery becomes a disaster. The Harris legal team requests records for disturbance calls at businesses over 5 years. They request demographic data, complaint logs, dispatch notes, and discipline histories. They request bodycam activation reports. And they request internal emails using keywords like clientele standards, clean up undesirable complaints, loitering. The results are ugly. Not cartoon villain ugly. System ugly. They find multiple complaints against Rourke that were marked unfounded without full investigation. They find supervisors praising proactive presence without asking why presence always targeted the same groups. They find business owners who used police as customer control because they knew the department would respond. And then they find something that makes the city's stomach drop. A draft memo proposing enhanced response protocols for business owners requesting environment support. It's never formally adopted, but the language exists. The implication is simple. Someone inside the system thought this was normal enough to document. The city's attorneys realize they can't win a trial on this. Not with video, not with patents, not with a convicted sergeant. So they do what cities do when the evidence is indefensible. They negotiate. The settlement is large, not headline big by national standards, but big enough to hurt. $2.4 million to the Harris family, plus attorney fees, plus most important mandated reforms. And the reforms matter more than the check, because money fades into budget lines. Reforms change behavior. The settlement requires independent civilian oversight with the power to subpoena, investigate, and recommend discipline. Mandatory bias and civil rights training, not just a one-time seminar but quarterly assessments. Bodycam compliance enforcement with automatic audits. If the camera is off during a citizen interaction, the officer must file a written explanation within 24 hours. Public demographic reporting for all business-related removal calls quarterly, published online. Policy rewrite. Officers cannot order a patron removed without direct confirmation from the owner or a designated manager, and the reason must be documented with specificity. A victim compensation fund for documented prior targets, people who were removed or threatened under similar circumstances. That last one opens the floodgates. Because once the city admits a pattern, people come forward. A young man remembers being told to leave a bookstore because someone felt unsafe. A grandmother remembers being warned for loitering outside a bakery while waiting for her ride. A high school kid remembers being searched outside an ice cream shop because someone complained. None of them sued because none of them thought they could win. But now, with the Rourke footage and federal convictions, they realize something that changes everything. It wasn't in their heads. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was policy-shaped prejudice with a uniform. Maple and Maine becomes a symbol. Carl Madsen puts up a sign near the entrance. Simple black letters on white background. All customers welcome. No discrimination. People drive from neighboring towns just to eat there, not because the food changed, because the meaning did. Dr. Harris and Renee used part of the settlement to create a small non-profit, the Harris Equal Access Project. It offers legal consultations to people who experience discrimination in public accommodations, restaurants, shops, gyms, theaters, not because they want revenge, because they understand the truth. Most people avoid. Accountability shouldn't depend on someone being able to afford a lawyer. The police department tries to rebuild its image. The chief holds a press conference, uses careful words, talks about trust, talks about moving forward, but the footage still exists, and every time someone tries to minimize it, the public re-watches it and hears the line again. That's not your concern. A year later, recruits in the academy are shown the clip as training, not as entertainment, as warning. The instructor pauses the video right before the threat to Carl. Listen to this, the instructor says. This is what abuse of authority sounds like when it's dressed up as professionalism. They play it, the room hears it. And the instructor says, if you ever think you can talk your way around someone's rights, remember the camera, because the biggest irony of all is this. Rourke activated his body cam because he believed it protected him. He thought it captured their behavior. He didn't understand it was capturing his. He walked into Maple and Maine expecting to remove a family the way he'd removed others before, confident he could write the report however he wanted. But he forgot the one thing power always forgets when it gets comfortable: when the truth is recorded, it stops belonging to the person who tried to hide it. And that's why this story doesn't end with a family leaving a diner. It ends with a city changing its rules because one officer left the camera on, because body cams don't just document citizens, they document the state. And when the state is wrong, video makes wrong undeniable.